I mean, I don't do like a patented intro. In the grand scheme of things, if I had like a patented thing, that
Yeah.
would probably actually make me feel more comfortable. Speaking kind of fell into my lap, so I can't keep, relying on the same amateur things.
That's Brooke Sellas, an entrepreneur and thought leader in the spaces of customer experience and social media. And I am Jay Akunzo. I work with other experts, entrepreneurs, and leaders to transform their expertise into messages and speeches that move the market. And today, it's another public coaching call where you're going to go inside my work with Brooke as she leans in more and more to speaking as a source of client leads and also direct revenue. She's charging a fee and raising her rates. And she also faces a familiar problem that maybe you and I have experienced too, the desire to share details of your bio as credibility builders and where to place it to do so. Specifically, she's placed it at the beginning in the form of a couple of fun facts that follow her formal intro, and this is causing some problems in her opener. Now, most of us meander through details of our bio, or we offer this popcorn-style fun fact approach, but what we're working on with Brooke is a signature opener built to connect with the audience in a warm way, convey trust and credibility, and yet also add real value to the audience, because that's the missing piece so often. So we do a lot of poor things when we tend to open our speeches, despite good intentions. Watch this video to watch as Brooke and I work through some great intentions and come out the other side with great content. In the spirit of trying to nail your intro, I want to hear you do it real quick. Our next speaker is Brooke Sellas. Brooke is the founder and CEO of B Squared Media. She founded B Squared Media in May of 2012 with the marketing mantra, think conversation, not campaign. Since then, Brooke and the B2 crew, you see how awkward the intros are, right?
Yes.
That's why you want to have that warm moment. I get it. So they give you a bio from your site like I did or otherwise. They're not a performer. You have to be. They lose the crowd a little bit. You got to win them back. And then I say at the end of this sort of staid, stiff bio, please welcome Brooke Sellas.
Jay, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Really appreciate it. Thank you to Social Media Marketing Road for having me here today. You can read this slide all about me, but really what I want to tell you are two things that you don't know about me. I want to really get to know each other. Number one, I am the pickle friend, meaning if you are that person who gets that little pickle spear with your lunch and you're not going to eat it, find me. Find me. I want all the pickles. I love pickles. They're my favorite thing on the planet. So pickle friend. When you think of me, think of pickle friend. Number two is I almost got a tattoo one time. Thank God I didn't, but you'll never guess what it was. It was a Kermit the Frog with a stethoscope around his neck. And this is a true story. Luckily, I ended up getting a butterfly instead, like totally cliche. But can you imagine if I had that Kermit the Frog stethoscope tattoo, like what that would be like today? Like, that would be fun stuff. I feel like that's a much better story. I digress, and then I go into the talk.
Okay. So again, it's endearing, but I'm wondering, how is this going to help me?
Yes.
Right. And I'm wondering, who is this going to be? And I'm thinking about the backdrop, the context of industry talks and business talks and, being bland, bad. I think you get 2 lines to let them know you're in good hands. Can you embrace that this is meant to be a warm open by tying it to some more stuff in the room? So that's one note. And then the second is, can you tighten it so it is actually the same content, but more deftly delivered? In other words, it's like, if I were to do it in a cold open fashion, I'd be like, thank you so much for that introduction. I omitted 2 facts I think you have to know about me. Fact number 1, if you ever see me running down the hall, run with me. I do not run, I do not exercise, I do not move fast, but you need to run with me, because if you see me running, that either means it's the zombie apocalypse or good news, there's free donuts. Fact number 2, I'm your pickle friend. Along the same lines as donuts a little earlier in the meal, if you're not going to eat your pickle, that's for me now. Anyways, as you heard, my name is Brooke Sellas, and I blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Not I, here's more bio, but
Right.
this is the material you teach,
I'm gonna
right?
blow your mind. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
deftly delivered in a couple of lines in a way that endears you. That's like my little bit false sense of bravado delivery, right? But also self-deprecating at the same time. Let's talk about the first avenue forward, which is it's kind of caught in the middle between it's the content of a warm open, but the delivery of a cold open. What I mean by that is it's meant to sort of say, hey, we're all here. And I'm going to acknowledge like we're all here and I'm here and you're wondering about me as a person and you're here at the event and you're wondering about what you're going to get out of the event. And let me acknowledge some stuff about that, then begin the material to teach you. That's a warm open. So you might say, something about the location, something about the coffee, or my friend Ron Tite has talked about the bacon is too smelly or whatever. The cold open is, here's the most important question we ought to be asking today to transform our work, and we're just not asking it. What's the best Disney film of all time? Stay with me. It's going to get weirder before it gets better. I really want you to answer that question. And in a way I go with this signature bit that does have a point later. So that's a cold open. I just start with the material. A warm open would be like, hey, Nashville, thanks so much for having me. I got a lot of questions. Questions like, why is the bacon so smelly? Do we have enough bacon and is it smelly enough? I got questions. Questions like, why do they put my head that large on the screen before I begin my talk? It's 8 a.m. You don't need to see that. I got questions. Questions like, every other talk is about AI. How much is hype? How much is real? I got a lot of questions. But here's maybe the most important question of them all. What's the best Disney film of all time? So that's a warm open. I'm using this weird meta commentary of we're in a thing. We're doing it right now. We're here. To comment on that briefly, then slide into the talk. So it
Yeah.
warms the room up and it warms up the relationship, which, by the way, you can do with a cold open too. But the cold open is just starting with the material.
Yeah. No, I like the warm better, but I also like it's like you feel like you're leading us down this path, but then all of a sudden you slap us in the face with the Disney line, and we're like, wait, what?
Well, there's a way to do it well, right? I was just sort of inventing
No, I
that on the
like that
fly.
though, because it really makes people like sit up and pay attention because you're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, where are we going with this? Right? So now you've got my attention. Yeah, so I'm with you. Let's maybe pick something else.
Let's do it. Hiding in plain sight for Brooke, just moments after the material you just heard her present, was the stuff that actually deserved to be her opener. And she knows it's not quite ready for prime time, and so we'll rework it in real time in just a second. So let's hear this draft from Brooke about a time that she was working to get young people involved with a charity that was near and dear to her heart and to her family, and then a bet that her father almost made with her, and a surprising insight she learned along the way.
Well, I already know this is too long, but you know what? I'm just going to read it. First of all, I took a bet from my father. And listen, I never take bets I can't win, but hold that thought. We'll get back to it. Let's start with how I even got here. I was in my 20s working with a charity and tasked with getting young professionals involved. So naturally, I turned it into a game. How many 20-somethings could I get to drink for a good cause? Spoiler alert, a lot. Here's what happened. I had a Facebook post go viral and I won. Granted, this was early Facebook, but still, that moment was my first real glimpse into the sheer power of social media, how a well-placed post could influence behavior and drive action, even if that action was just getting a bunch of young professionals to buy a beer. And that's where it all clicked. If social media could make people buy beer, what else could it make them buy?
So
Too long.
it's actually not too long.
Oh.
I actually believe it needs to be longer. And
What?
here's why. The reason I think it needs to be longer is, like any good intro and opener to anything, speech or otherwise, it introduces a lot of questions. But there's two problems with the questions being introduced here. One is you stack too many in a row and I start to get frustrated because you have this like, first, I took a bet from my father. What do you mean took a bet? What bet? And listen, I never take bets that I can't win, but hold that thought. So you're literally saying to me, hold that thought. So now I'm like, okay, I got it. Right. And then you rush away to the pantry and get more material. Meanwhile, I'm like, okay, I'm holding this thought. I don't know how long I can hold it, Brooke.
Yeah.
I need you to take it back from me and push it forward. So I have one thought that I'm holding that contains one question, if not two. Right. And then let's start with how I even got here. I was in my 20s working with a charity and tasked with getting young professionals involved. With what? What type of young professionals? What kind of charity? So naturally, I turned it into a game. Why? How many 20-somethings could I get to drink for a good cause? Wait, what? Drink alcohol? Like, what do you mean? So you're rushing through the details, which is why I need you to slow down and elongate it, because there's so many questions here. So, and that's the first problem. The second problem is they're not the most pressing questions. Like, you never want to let a question that's not paramount to the talk be the one that lingers. And this is why, for example, You ever hear those NPR style podcasts where you first hear a quick sentence from someone, then they go, "That's Brooke Sellas," right? You hear
Yeah.
the quote, then you
Yeah.
get the intro to
Yeah.
who Brooke is, and then you might
Mhm.
get a follow-up from the narrator of like, Brooke is an entrepreneur in the social care space and pioneer this type of blah, blah, blah. That's because Brooke is here to be an expert in that episode, and I want to learn from Brooke. What I need to know, however, is a few key details about Brooke, so I'm not stuck being like, who is this person? What did they do? Why am I listening? So they get the housekeeping questions sort of answered. And then there might be a bigger pressing question that you yourself might pose in a quote, or they've posed as the framing device of the whole episode to start, or something like that. And so here, what I'm looking for is the details that create questions. When the details about the story, you got to answer them and make sure I'm not wondering about them. Because while I'm wondering, you're speaking. And so now
Yeah.
I'm behind. It's really a matter of spoon feeding. Like if it's a linear experience, a speech is a good example, but a podcast is another, video is another, where, writing is one of those things I can scroll back and pace myself as the consumer however I want. But as the speaker, it's one direction forward. And so you got to spoon feed, let them digest and swallow it, and then move on. So what's like that one opening line that immediately makes me perk up and go, this is going to be a cool story? I don't know if it's, first of all, I took a bet from my father. It's
No,
something like that.
I
It's
think
something
it's the
about your
other
father and
story.
a bet and your business. But what's like a line that pops to mind that we could append to the top?
I think it's more the pub crawl. It's not that first sentence. It's the next, which is my sister has cystic fibrosis. I went and worked at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. I was responsible for raising $1 million a year. And they came to me and they were like, hey, it's up to you to figure out how to get young professionals involved in this very antiquated, nobody knows about disease.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, shoot, how am I going to get people to care about CF, which only affects 33,000 Americans? How am I going to get young professionals to be involved with charity? And I'm like, beer. so so that's it. Like it started with the
Right.
beer, basically.
So that's great. You know what's funny? This is why I love doing this, because we're always so, yeah, I feel the same way. We're always so close to our stuff that just talking it out with someone else who can notice things is important. Here's what I noticed. The thing you just said to me as not part of the talk, the throwaway line, that should be your opening line. I don't know if you noticed what you just said. You're like,
I
because it all started with beer, basically. That's what you said to me. That should be the opening line. It all started with beer, right? Like, there's now listen, there's some stuff that's fraught about using that line, but
yeah.
at the end of your explanation was the little way into it, the little I'm perking up now at 8 in the
Yeah.
morning hearing this
Yeah.
opener, this opening
Yes.
keynote, and the opener of that opening keynote, right? And that was just the throwaway line where you were like, I need to land this explanation to Jay, and Jay, it was, yeah, it just started with beer. That's how it started. Great. If that's how it started, that's where it starts in the talk.
Okay. So it started with beer.
It all started with beer. My sister has CF. That's not what caused it. Beer's not what caused it, but beer might contribute towards a solution, actually. She has CF, which is a disease that, this, that, the other thing. And I was in charge of raising $1 million in support of the cure, in support of the research. Specifically, I was in charge of raising $1 million from young people. And how do you get young people to care about something that they might not be thinking about all day? I thought to myself, okay, beer, right? So
Yes.
that's a messy construction. But
Yeah,
what it
but I like
does
it.
is it gives me a strong opener that does two things. One is it creates the right kind of question that does then get answered later, right? Which is, and that's where it all clicked. If social media could make people buy beer, what else could it make them buy? Right? That's later. That's relevant to your talk. But there's like that meta question too, or sorry, that tinier question too, which is about the story. Like, where's this going? And then you answer it immediately, not at the end of the story, but immediately you're like, this was the scenario. This is why I said it started with beer. It also takes care of the thing you said at the very beginning of our call was the reason you start with 2 fun facts about yourself might be nerves, might be fear, but this gives you that confidence. You can internalize how you say that line, and you just need to be brave or just need to get over the nerves with a single line. Then you can pause a beat, gather yourself, and continue the story. So it's effective for you, the speaker, too. So I think that's brilliant. It hit all 3 of those things. Now what we have to decide is, where is this going, not just for the story, but in the whole argument you're making, right? So what I'm trying to think through now is, okay, well, the purpose of the introduction, the purpose of the opener is to set up the argument you're making in the talk. And the argument, broadly speaking, tends to follow what the audience needs to hear in the right order as they move beat by beat. You're getting little moments of agreement to keep talking, little moments of buy-in to each piece of your idea, leading to later some paradigm shift that they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I want to go with you. And you're like, good news. The next part of this talk is teaching you how to do it. And oh, by the way, I have all this other stuff away from the talk, right? So in that spirit of constructing an argument, the intro should be setting up, you have this goal, you have this current approach and set of beliefs for achieving this goal, and yet we have some problems. However, and this is hinted at, not overtly revealed in the story, I'm here to propose a change. So this story should map to those first three things and then show, not tell, the change.
I could also be the beer friend. I do love a beer. I'm from Texas, so.
There you go.
I'm that one girl who's like, yes, I will have the beer, not the, no, I will get too bloated if I have a beer. I'm like, heck yeah.
All right. Well, I want to end with this.
But I
want to end with this.
But yeah.
Under no circumstances, given the opener having the theme of beer, no matter what you do, deep in your bones, I want you to internalize this. Never, ever, even though you're sliding into the theme of beer, say to the audience, well, I know I'm standing between you and happy hour. Don't say that.
I won't.
All right. How do you feel?
I feel great. This was amazing. Yeah.
Awesome.
So helpful. Like I definitely couldn't have done this on my own.